How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is running a plethora of sales right now. In this video, I want to highlight the PlayStation Indies sale. Now, this is the sale that'll be running for a little while longer, and this will be running until February the 21st. The Games Under 15 and Critics' Choice sale are ending tomorrow as I'm recording this video. Those two sales will not be mentioned. We covered those sales pretty in-depth. Go check out some of the other videos if you're interested, but the Indies sale has a lot of lower-key titles. I'm not familiar with a lot of the games, so just keep that in mind. As in why I don't mention certain games. There's a lot of indies that are released on PlayStation regularly, and no man can absolutely play them all. PlayStation is kind of getting to that point. Not as bad as Steam, and it's not a bad thing whatsoever, but there's just a lot of games being released, and it's impossible for one man to play them all with all of the major titles being released as well. But I rounded out some good deals, gonna go over them, and all of these are under the price of $5. Now, before we get into this video, I just want to ask you guys, please like this video and do leave a comment with your thoughts. It really does help out the channel a lot, and it is much appreciated. So right off the top, got a game that, you know, I mention quite often. Sometimes it's a little bit on the more expensive side, but Mark of the Ninja Remastered is finally down to $4.99, and I think this is a great price for a great action stealth game. This released way back on the 360. I want to say like 2011, 2012, and I remember playing it on there and really liked it. Unfortunately, never came to a PlayStation platform until we had this remastered release, and the remastered release isn't changing the game with Mark of the Ninja, but it looks better, and it's still that great action stealth title from back in the day. You do have the special edition DLC as well. Quality title here for $4.99. I think it's a great pickup. A lot of the times it was going on sale for like $8 to $10. That was a little pricey. $5, I think, is a really good shout. Next up, Outlast and Outlast 2, $1.99 and $2.99 for Outlast 2. I mean, it's Outlast. If you like survival horror games, this, when it came out, I remember it really bugged me out. I was like, damn, yo, because I wasn't, like, really that in the weeds with horror titles, but Outlast was getting so much buzz when it initially dropped. I want to say it was, like, 2014 when it initially dropped, and, yeah, pushed the envelope a little bit, to say the least. You can get Outlast the Bundle of Terror, which includes Whistleblower for $2.89, which is a pretty good price, and then Outlast 2, I feel like after playing Outlast 2 couldn't push the envelope as much because my own expectations with Outlast were already, you know, I was already kind of bugged out with that game, but Outlast 2 is still a pretty engrossing survival horror game. $2.99 for that is quite good, and that is available on Plus Extra. Next up, Child of Light, 70% off for $4.49, an incredibly charming RPG from Ubisoft. It's not a super lengthy game, and it's not like this is a super engrossing game from a narrative standpoint or anything like that, but it's got a great visual style, and gameplay-wise, it's a pretty well-made game and competent from its fundamental gameplay aspects. I thought the dialogue was pretty good, and overall for $4.49, I think this is a pretty good buy. It seemed to be one of those revered games from Ubisoft alongside Valiant Hearts: The Great War, 70% off for $4.49. Remember, these came out around the same time, both published by Ubisoft, and people were kind of taken aback because they're very different than what Ubisoft typically publishes, but Valiant Hearts ended up being a great game as well. Great art style, emotional narrative. Obviously, there's another Valiant Hearts game that was tied to being a Netflix exclusive or whatever, and that is looking to be coming to consoles here shortly. That'll be great, but if you never played Valiant Hearts: The Great War, definitely would recommend that. A emotional war story that really, like, gets going within the initial portion of the game. So I would say give it a shot for $4.50. Great buy. Both of those titles are available on Plus Extra. Next up, we got Shadow Warrior, 90% off for $2.99. You guys know me. I always talk of Shadow Warrior. I think if you want a fast-paced, no-nonsense action game, Shadow Warrior is one of the better titles you can pick up, and at $2.99, this is just an excellent buy. Shadow Warrior is one of those action games I feel like anybody can get into and enjoy. And this is a game that came out back in like 2013, I want to say, and it still holds up pretty well in the sense that the gameplay is going to be enjoyable. Is it blow away from a visual standpoint? No, but, you know, in terms of fast-paced, bloody action gameplay, Shadow Warrior is some of the better gameplay you're going to find. Shadow Warrior 2 is great as well. I think that's better than Shadow Warrior 1. Shadow Warrior 3 got a bad rap. It's not a terrible game whatsoever, but it's just, nobody should be spending $40 on that game or whatever it is, and we got to wait for that to hit the bargain bin, and then it'll be a decent pickup. Next up, we have Sine Mora EX, which for Plus subscribers is down to $3.99. I played Sine Mora when it initially came out, so my memory is a little bit foggy with this, but but I remember really enjoying it as an over-the-top shoot-em-up. Like, shoot-em-ups are always gonna be a pretty good time, and I felt like Sine Mora was a pretty good one, especially at that time. There were a lot of shoot-em-ups coming out. Like, I remember Super Stardust HD is the one that I think is like peak shoot-em-up era, but Sine Mora was a good time as well. $3.99 for that if you're a Plus subscriber. Not a bad price. Next up, we got Cat Quest 2. If you are a Plus subscriber, you'll get it for $2.99. Cat Quest 2 is such a difference to all the other games you guys are probably playing. It's a super easy game and a very accessible game, so if you're trying to get, you know, your kid, younger sibling, whatever the deal is, into video games, just anybody that's not super into video games, it seems like cat games are super easy to promote these days. Like, everybody loves Stray. Cat Quest is a game that's not super lengthy. You can complete it in like 10 to 12 hours, and it's a pretty good time the whole way through. This one has cooperative play as well, so you can enjoy it that way, hence the idea of, you know, getting somebody else into gaming and so on and so forth. But $2.99 for it after a Plus discount is quite good. Next up, we have Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun, 90% off for $3.99. This is done by Mimimi Games. Unfortunately, that studio put out great game after great game, Shadow Tactics, Desperados 3, and most recently, they did put out Shadow Game. All three of those games, compelling, well-done, tactics-based titles, but just goes to show in the gaming industry, you can put out a quality game and it can be priced well, have a good bit of content, and still, it's a hard game, no pun intended, the gaming industry, that is, to be a profitable endeavor. But nonetheless, they have a legacy of some great games, and Shadow Tactics I thought was an awesome game. As a tactics title, I think it was really well done. Setting is great, and I think if you enjoy the setting, and if you're into that period of Japan, you're gonna enjoy the game, even if tactics games aren't your forte. $3.99 for Shadow Tactics is a no-brainer. It is on Plus Extra as well, so definitely check it out there. Next up, we got Ubisoft's Trials Rising at a 75% off for $4.99. Now, Trials is a good time. Unfortunately, this game is littered with microtransactions, so just keep that in mind if you want all the content. You gotta buy all the extra stuff, but $4.99 for the game I think is a good buy, given that the Trials gameplay is still enjoyable, and the base game content, you'll still have some fun with it. It is on PS Plus Extra as well, so you can play it that way if you do have a subscription, but $4.99 I think is an okay buy. Rogue Legacy, 80% off for $3.39. Very, very enjoyable, difficult action roguelite title. I didn't get into it as much as other people, but people have sunk hours upon hours into Rogue Legacy, and for $3.39, feel like that's a pretty good buy as well. Next up, we got Post Void. This is a game that was supposed to come out on PS4 and PS5 a while ago. Got a bunch of delays. I didn't even realize it officially came out, but it is out, and Plus subscribers can get it for $3.59. This is a super, super trippy shooter, a throwback shooter with an incredibly trippy art style. Like, man, I feel like you gotta be on some stuff when you play Post Void. Post Void is so trippy, but it's a really cool game. It's not something that you're gonna sink a ton of time into, but $3.59. You're paying a very, very small price point here, so I would say, you know, give it a look. You're seeing some of the gameplay now, and if that interests you, I think from a presentation standpoint, I think it's so unique compared to everything else, you know, from a presentation standpoint, that it is worth a playthrough. Titan Souls is down to $1.49 if you're a Plus subscriber. I mean, I feel like that's highway robbery. I know that Titan Souls certainly has its issues from a gameplay standpoint, but it's still an enjoyable game. Some of the boss battles are pretty cool and pretty well done, and for $1.49, it saw a lot of comparisons to, you know, some of the challenging Souls-like titles. Definitely different in terms of presentation and whatnot, but $1.49 for it, I think is quite good, so I did want to give that a shout as well as we are wrapping up the video. But that is going to do it for me. Again, the indie sale has a ton of deals available. Some of these games are just a little bit foreign to me in terms of, you know, I can't play every indie game that comes out. It's just, it's always going to be a difficult endeavor, but I hope these were some good recommendations. And off the top, I mentioned Mark of the Ninja. That being down to $4.99, like, I am always going to sing that game's praises because I thought that game was awesome. The art style has held up so, so well. And as an action stealth game, it's great. And some other sleeper hits here for sure. You know, Child of Light, Valiant Hearts Great War, those are always easy recommendations as well. But that's gonna do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.